Yo, hello, what is up, you guys? Vicem back here with a brand new video. So today we're going to be talking about whether you should use past performance of older sets to predict the potential, upside for newer sets, right? So let's get right into it. So one general rule of thumb that I follow, that I made for myself was I don't use sets from black and white going back, so black, white, hard gold, platinum, et cetera, so forth. I don't use any of those sets when, making comparisons, obviously, between a newer set and an older set. I don't use anything from black and white gold. The reason for that is, and this is just kind of one no-brainer, emerging powers. So all those memes, all those things that you hear, Crimson Invasion, Steam Siege being worst of all time, whatever, it all started with emerging powers. Emerging powers is literally like by far the worst set of all time, arguably. Like I can't think of anything else worse than this. Total value 129. Top two hits. These are the top two hits you get. Garbage, trash. Yet you go on eBay, these things are literally selling for 2.5, and you have another one with 20 bids. If I'm not, 1875. So that's why I don't use, these older sets, for comparisons, because the demand was nowhere near what it is nowadays. I mean, back then I was able to get a pack, right? So with Call of Legends, it would be Groudon, Lugia artwork, and then Heart Gold, Still Silver. It was Rayquaza. I want to say Undaunted. It had to be Undaunted. I don't remember. I would literally put the pack art, like the one that I wanted. I would literally put it behind a couple packs. I would come back a couple days later, and maybe one pack would have sold, or if not any of them, and the pack that I hid would be there. As nowadays, people, whatever product they could get their hands on, they will literally hide it in the furniture aisle, in the freezer aisle, in the dumpster. I don't know where the hell they're hiding it nowadays, but they'll be hiding it. Back then, you could you didn't even have to hide it. You could literally just come back a week later, and it's probably gonna still be there. Literally, oh, I wanted this pack art or whatever. You could literally just pull out a couple packs, and then there's another one with the same pack art. So yeah, that's how it was back then. Demand wasn't there, and especially back then, pretty much almost every kid didn't know values. Literally, they had no idea of values. I mean, only me and a few of my friends, we kind of had an idea of values, but we didn't know the exact this card's worth $50 or whatever. We just knew these ones are valuable. So literally, I'd be getting a lot of level X cards. I would have just commons or a few decent hollows, nothing crazy. And they'd want them. Be like, oh, I like that one. And then I literally just be getting expensive cards like that because we would trade based off of how it looked or whatever. So that's what I'm saying. Back then, demand, pretty much all that you see nowadays, that didn't exist back then. And same thing when it came to supply. Yeah, back then, supply was non-existent. I'm not saying non-existent in the way back then it was impossible to find. I'm saying in the way that they didn't print they really didn't print anything, because obviously Pokemon didn't want to keep overprinting, and essentially be losing money because, the product wasn't being sold at the rate that they thought it would have, And also back then, Pokemon was still relatively small. It wasn't really it was big, but it wasn't insanely big as how it is nowadays. So that's what I'll say there. So that's why when it comes to comparison with sets from black and white going back, I don't use any of those sets. The sets that I do use, X and Y, Sun and Moon, now Sword and Shield. So when it comes to predictions, right? Obviously, as soon as I pull up the set, you guys already know what I'm comparing it to. Team Up. Market price is at 3,000. Most recent sale 4,000. It's going crazy. I mean, Team Up came out in 2019, January 31st, I want to say, or February 1st. January, one of those 2 days, I can't remember. So it's been out for, I would say, around close to 6 years. We'll just say 6 years, right? So obviously, I don't have with TCG. I mean, I can only go back a year, so can't really. But I mean, hey, in a year, it actually went from 2,000 all the way, so it went up 1,000 in just a year, which is, yeah, that's really good. But yeah, going from price charting, so Evolving Skies has been out for a little over 3 years, so we'll do the same month. So obviously, Team Up came out 2019, 31st or 1st. So we'll say, give or take, we'll give it May, So we'll say Team Up was at 680, right? We'll say, even though 662, 680 in 3 years. Evolving Skies, and same thing, a little over 3 years, is currently at a market price of 1362. And the lowest listed on TCG is 1325. So in the same time frame, 3 years, Evolving Skies did better. 2 times better than Team Up. And people that try to say, oh, well, Pokemon does this. People, like, that's what I don't understand. Like, people are, like, back then, people were saying, like, oh, well, it was a whole different ballgame because Logan Paul was the one that caused the boom, or, like, so many reasons, like, oh, that's why Battle Styles, Vivid Darkness, that's why all those sets were going, out this world, or this and that. Okay, if that was the case, then why wasn't Team Up, at $5,000 a box or whatever, So that's the thing. I was comparing these sets. So before I made the purchase, I wanted to go heavy. That's the thing. I could have split it between Team Up and Evolving, but I kind of wanted to go heavy on one. And I chose the Evolving Skies because that's the thing. Almost collectively, everyone can agree on. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an investor, a collector, player, or, it doesn't matter what you are. Okay, maybe player, but almost everyone can agree that Evolving Skies is arguably like the best set of modern times. Okay, it literally has the modern Holy Grail, the Moonbryon, which, if you were to compare back then, the Latios and the Umbreon, they'd be neck and neck in terms of raw value. Like, one would be higher than the other, then afterwards it'd be taken over by the other one, and that's how it'd be. But yeah, pretty much if we come over here, the set value is at 5,228. Team Up is at 3,852. Latios 1165. Moonbryon 1717. Obviously, these values might be a little skewed, but essentially you get the point. And when comparing with these sets, so obviously, even though the top 10 cards for Evolving Skies are more expensive than the Team Up, right? And you come here, market price is 3,000. Evolving Skies is at 1362, right? That's why I used Team Up as a prime example when comparing as to what Evolving Skies could perform in X amount of years. And I saw that Evolving Skies was the same, if not better than Team Up. And I saw, okay, at these different points in time, this is what Team Up was at. And I estimate, okay, I could see this being at this value, or I could see Evolving Skies is just completely blowing those expectations out the water, right? Team Up has been out for 6 years. Evolving Skies has been out for a little over, 3 years, right? So that means in 2.5 years, Evolving Skies will be at 6 years, right? If Evolving Skies has the modern Holy Grail, the Moonbryon, which a lot of people, even some vintage collectors, really want that Moonbryon, PSA 10 or Black Label or whatever, right? But they just want that card, right? So, modern Holy Grail. Not only that, the only difference between the two, and this is one difference I saw, and I made a video talking about this too, if you didn't watch it, and I also made it talking about, like, you should get in on Evolving Skies before it's too late. And hey, if you did buy Evolving Skies for, low 900s, high 800s, hey, you took a W. But anyways, when it comes to it, the thing I said is Team Up has demand, but what really helped it boom was that scarcity, right? That like limited print that it had. Evolving Skies had, obviously, it didn't have a crazy amount of printed, but it had like a decent amount printed, more than Team Up, but it has the demand. And one thing that I've seen over the years, it doesn't matter how much of something is printed, if it has that demand backing it up, that demand will I'm going to stick by this, demand will always prevail over that scarcity. Okay, literally you can. Okay, I know I said don't use old sets, but you can literally use them. Okay, you look at sets like old sets, right? Take any era, platinum, Diamond and Pearl, EX, take any of those. Now take the more favorable sets that have demand that people want to chase. How much are those boxes going for compared to sets, other sets in that era that, that people don't really want to chase or don't have that same level of demand? Obviously the one with demand is more pricier. Same thing here. Evolving, and I know that's here's a difference. Obviously they're not in the same era, but when comparing the two, this is why I'm saying, like, why we're going on about this for comparison. When comparing the two, right? Because that's the thing. There's an argument. Do you use past examples? So right here is a prime example of, yes, you should use this. You should compare. Whatever set. I mean, obviously it's a no-brainer. Compare, evolving to team up. But if you're comparing evolving to Burning Shadows for some reason, I don't know where you messed up there, but yeah, compare those two. They're pretty much identical, right? Obviously, this would have helped you a lot when making a move if you're doing this early on, right? But the thing, like I said, is Evolving Skies has a demand backing it up, like crazy. Like literally, Team Up was above Evolving for like a decent time in terms of set value. Like like I think right here they were neck and neck, and then it started coming down. And Team Up, on the other hand, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, they were neck and neck, but Team Up didn't drop. It actually kept going up. Kind of dropped a little, but then it started to pick back up. Evolving, on the other hand, just dropped, right? Even during that, I stayed true, and I knew that I was like, I don't care. Evolving is like comparing where Team Up is at. Obviously, Team Up has more years over it and it has that scarcity. I know that demand is going to help Evolving. Fast forward now, total value is this amount: 5,228. Team Up 3,852. Compare it now. I mean, literally in 3 years, a little over 3 years, Evolving literally doubled what Team Up did in its first 3 years of release. And keep in mind, even though, yeah, like it kind of came out during a time when Pokemon wasn't boom, but then it entered when Pokemon started to boom. It had that scarcity. That's the thing. Like when people say that Team Up was short printed, like they're not joking. Like no, Team Up was short printed, right? Even with that, Evolving performed a heck of a lot better. So another thing that I use not too often are the singles. And I mean, going there, I mean, literally, the Umbreon is literally like the modern holy grail, and I compared it to the Latios a lot. Back then, the Latios was like the one getting more traction. But then once the Moonbreon just started picking up demand like crazy, people like just shifted their attention towards that. And I mean, look at all the hits in Evolving, So that's what I'm saying. Imagine in 2.5 years, so once Evolving officially reaches 6 years of its release, so that will be, because Evolving came out 2021 August 27th, I want to say. So August 27th, 2027, or or pretty much entering 2028, that will be 6 years for Evolving Skies, or a little over, right? So now pretty much to everyone, I ask you, like, what do you think it'd be at? Do you think it'll be at the same market value as Team Up once you've done all these comparisons, or do you think it will be better, seeing the performance that Evolving pulled in that same earlier time frame, like, that Team Up had, because who knows? What if Evolving ends up being close to 4,000 a box? What if it ends up being at somehow 5,000? Because sold listings on eBay range anywhere from 25 to 5,000 apparently, because I saw a bunch of them at 3,500, 4,000, one at 5,000, but it's all over the place. So seeing that for Team Up, what if we see something along the lines of sold listings could range from 3,000 to 6,000 for Evolving Skies? So that's what I'm saying is you have to really take all that into account, because the reason I use comparison is because this is one key factor, right? This this helps you if you're a long-term investor. I should have done that. This helps you out a lot if you're a long-term investor. And I mean, I'm like I said, like when it comes to sets, as soon as I buy anything, I don't care what I buy, the minute I buy something, I plan on holding it until it reaches 4 to 6 years of its release. So, Lost Origin or Evolving Skies, now that we're on topic, let's say I bought a box right now. Okay. So let's say I want to hold it for another, like I said, 3 years nearly to reach that 6-year mark. I'll buy it and I'll wait that time frame. And that's the thing. What if I buy some at 1,200 bucks, right? Because I just like how Team Up, there's like a guy that's unloading some, for a little below market. Which, hey, that's one thing. If you ask like, oh, who's gonna buy this? Literally, if the market value is 3,000 and you need to unload it quick, and it's in pretty good condition, just sell it for, I don't know, 25 to 2,700, and you'll sell it in no time. So that's one thing. But yeah, so there could be people, same thing with Evolving, that are unloading it. One thing that I forgot who I watched, Pokemon, I think that's his channel name. I was watching him earlier. I've been watching him for a while. He mentioned this, and honestly, I agree with it, that a lot of people saw their gains with Sword and Shield, and they're just capitalizing on their gains. Taking whatever profit they can get and putting it into the newer sets. So be it Surging, be it Journey Together if they're buying those pre-orders, or even Prismatic Evolutions. Obviously, people want that Sunbreon or whatever, so they're just selling whatever they can get. Because hey, I made double my money, or I made X amount of percent profit. I want to buy these new sets. So that's why there's a little bit price warring going on. But let's say you buy a box of Evolving 1,200, and you see the performance that Team Up is pulling. So who's to say that in 3 years, what if Team Up does end up hitting anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 market price, and you purchased at 11 to 1,200? You would have essentially tripled your money. Well, realistically speaking, you would have made 200% plus in returns, depending at what you bought, depending where it goes. So that's all I'm gonna say. So I have a couple other boxes too. I mean, Cosmic, cheapest on TCG is 1,500, market price 11-13, and obviously Fusion, market price 469, but it's currently dropping. Cheapest 450. Lost Origin is 372 market price, but cheapest 355. So coming over here, I mean, we look at set value. So Cosmic Eclipse, second most expensive. So set value and booster box. So over here, 2,783. But if we go to Fusion Strike, it's at 1,613. Lost Origin combined with the Trainer Gallery is at like 1,250. And the one thing that threw me off was Chilling Reigns, like almost at 1,500, but it's like not at the same price range for booster boxes as Lost Origin. Like I get it, the top hit isn't what the Tina is, but like it has a lot of other hits that offer a little bit more value. But hey, I mean, I've seen some weird things before. But yeah, the Tina is at 619. But coming back, so Cosmic Eclipse. So Cosmic Eclipse came out, I want to say November. I don't know the exact date, 2019, just like Silver Tempest. And so that's been out for a little over 5 years. And boxes are selling anywhere from, if I'm not mistaken, like anywhere from 1,000 to like 1,250 or something. I'm not sure what they're at right now. Fusion Strike, this is more easier to know. So Fusion Strike came out in the summer of 2021. So it's been out for give or take 3.5 years. Yeah, 3.5 little. So hey, is there a possibility we could see Fusion in a year and a half reaching that 5-year mark like Cosmic, be at 1,000, 1,200? Not necessarily. So one thing that I've learned when it comes to comparing sets and all that stuff is some sets can have a higher set value, but another set could come in, maybe the third, fourth. So let's say one box has a set value of 2,000, right? And let's say it's number 2. And then the set that's in fourth place for set value has obviously a lesser one, not by a whole lot, but like obviously less, maybe like by 150, 200, whatever. Yet the box is like 100, 150 bucks more than the one in second place. That's what I've noticed with a lot of sets, X and Y, Sun and Moon. Even with Sword and Shield, sort of. Yeah, Sword and Shield, we're starting to see that. So what I see when comparing, obviously I compared it to Cosmic, but I compared it to Unified as well. And what I can honestly see Fusion going to, I could see it going anywhere like in the mid 7s to like low 800s. I could see that for Fusion Strike. For Lost Origin, I think I like made an estimate. I was like in the mid 600s, low 700s, but there's a good chance. I mean, literally, obviously it doesn't have the number one or number two most expensive. Or actually, hold up, let me double check. I'm pretty sure the Rayquaza is. Oh yeah, no. So yeah, so it would be the Gengar and then the Rayquaza. So hey, I mean, Cosmic Eclipse, that's the thing. Cosmic Eclipse, most expensive is 218, but it offers so much value, right? So, so that's another thing. So, when I do like comparisons, I like compare like all over the place. I make like a triangle, a rhombus. I make a weird ass shape. I was comparing this to Evolving Skies, believe it or not. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's going to be Evolving Skies, but I'm comparing in terms of like, yeah, it doesn't have an insanely expensive card, but it's literally a little over 5 years old and it offers so much value. It's not like, there's only 4 cards that offer some sort of value and the rest of them are trash. Like, no, literally in the top 10, the cheapest is 75, and the artwork on this is just like, it's just beautiful. It just stands out a lot. And I saw this and I was seeing like the total value and everything for what the box is at and what it offers. I really feel like it's undervalued. I feel like a lot of things in Sun and Moon are undervalued, Cosmic Eclipse especially. So just I'm just saying that just saying if you're someone that has like a good amount of income, like you're looking to park it somewhere and you're in it for the long haul. I mean, Cosmic could be a play. Cosmic could be a play in the long run. I really feel like it's undervalued. Like I said, especially for what it offers. But yeah, so there's a good chance Fusion. I like I said, I see it kind of being in the same range as Unified. Lost Origin, I forgot what set I was comparing it to. But I almost saw it as like a Celestial, where the set value isn't like absurdly crazy where like as Fusion are chilling, but the booster box prices are gonna like command like a high price. Like, I don't know why, I just see that happening with Lost Origin just like it did with Celestial. So who knows. But one last thing I want to do for comparison. So obviously back to evolving and team up. I mean, obviously, one general rule of thumb, you don't want to invest in mainline set ETBs. Obviously, PC ETBs are a whole different. I don't really mess with them, but regular ETBs, you really, you usually don't want to get too much into them. But if you want to have a piece of that set, but you can't really afford that booster box, or you just kind of want to diversify more into the set, yeah, ETBs would, or collection box, or whatever, whatever you can find, but ETBs. So I was getting cases of ETBs that first prints, I'm pretty sure. I was getting these ones for in the low thousands. I was doing bids, I think like 1,300 a case. I was getting them at. And yeah, so I pretty much profited like over $100 on each ETB. And literally, this wasn't like, oh, I bought them years ago. Like, no, this was like in a couple months. And now, yeah, it sucks. I didn't get them when, they were like in the 70s, 80s, 90s, which it sucks, or, retail. But hey, still got something, still made money. Team up. Yep. The market price for an ETB is $852. Cheapest is $1,200. And yes, on eBay, they do sell. I literally was seeing them sell for like 800, 900. Like, yeah, they were up there, and same thing, just like we said for the booster boxes, same thing could apply for an ETB. But here's the thing though that sucks with ETBs is the booster boxes command a higher premium and just have more demand than the ETBs, but that still doesn't take away that an Evolving Skies ETB can perform at the same level, if not better. But obviously, the prints for ETBs were vastly different for Sun and Moon compared to Sword and Shield. So that's one thing that kind of would hinder. But like I said, demand is always just going to prevail. Like, you'd be surprised when something has demand backing it up. You'd be surprised at the level of performance it ends up having. So yes, when it comes to wrapping it all up, when it comes to you know when it comes to comparisons of whether past performance can predict future performance, to some extent, yeah. If you're good with it, like, exactly like what you're comparing it with, and you're checking everything, not just booster box price, like, oh, this booster box did this. It's gonna be like, no, like, check everything what the rest of the products did, singles, every year point. So like in the 5 years that a set's been out, an older one that you were comparing it to, check every year what it's been going. Maybe what else was going on at that time. Like, for example, I mean, when Logan Paul was around, nowadays, or now, there isn't that Logan Paul. Now it's literally just like demand. Now it is like just demand for Pokemon. But just look at everything, right? And you'd be surprised. Like, if you're doing everything correctly, you'd be surprised that more times than not you'll end up getting something right. But like I said, one thing that I will say is this helps if you're a long-term investor. If you're someone that's in it for the short term, it's really hard to use those comparisons short term. Like, yeah, if there's a set that's like an obvious number one, it's going to perform very well. I mean, Team Rocket, if they end up doing that well and it ends up for some reason having the same print as Prismatic and having nothing, or they get backdoor, whatever, go into it. But there can be some obvious plays, but this definitely helps if you're someone that's doing it for the long term, right? And like I said, I'm in it for the long run, and I'm starting to see those comparisons, those predictions I was making years ago. I'm starting to see those play out now. So yeah, when it comes to comparisons, yeah, you definitely can. There's a lot of people that say, oh, you can, it was a different time frame. Or, okay, then how do you explain a lot of the prices that we're seeing for not just Sword and Shield, but for Scarlet and Violet? If it was a different time period, or there wasn't that much supply, or this and this and this and that, like, that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, my general rule of thumb when it comes to comparisons is I don't mess around with anything black and white and previously. X and Y, sure. Sun and Moon, now Sword and Shield, you can definitely use those. But yeah, at the end of the day, this really does help if you're someone doing this long term. Which, I mean, if you even plan on investing, you should be doing it long term. You shouldn't be doing it for a couple months, a year, 2 years, or even 3 years. You should be doing it long term, longer than that. At least 4 to 6 years to really see a good. But don't be that person that buys something like, let's say a set came out, a set's already 3 years old. You buy something, and then you sell it in a year, like, and you make $50 or $100. Let's say it does a team up and goes from 2,000 to 3,000. I don't know, but yeah, definitely. When you're doing this, be in it for the long term. Now, for me now, what I have to do is now I have to kind of look around and just kind of experiment with Scarlet and Violet, because obviously it's kind of hard to, because Scarlet and Violet isn't done yet. We still have more sets coming out, but once more sets come out, then I'll start looking around, doing my usual comparisons. Then from there we'll see what we got. But anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, please feel free to drop a like, comment, sub, and I'm interested, curious. Comment down below where you see Evolving Skies being in the next 2-3 years market price. Where do you see it being at? $2,000, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6. Comment down below what you think it'll be at. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. And with that, bye for now.